She's done, not out of bitterness, not out of anger, but because her soul finally whispered, enough. No more chasing, no more waiting for breadcrumbs, no more explaining what he already knows deep inside. The divine feminine has stopped carrying the weight of both hearts. And in that stillness, in that powerful letting go, everything shifts. Because when she no longer fights for the connection, the silence becomes unbearable for him. When she no longer fills the space, the emptiness forces him to see himself. And when she no longer proves her worth, his soul is left with no shield, no excuse, no hiding place. This is the moment the masculine cannot avoid, the moment where the energy flips, where the universe says, "She has done her part, now it's your turn." And he feels it in his body, in his dreams, in his restless guilt. The bond is still here, but it will not carry him anymore. The divine feminine has chosen herself. And because of that, the masculine must choose too. There comes a moment in every twin flame journey when words lose their power. Not because she has nothing left to say, but because her energy has already spoken. For so long, the divine feminine tried. She explained, she justified. She reminded him of what he already knew. She carried the weight of both sides of the bond, hoping that if she poured enough love into the connection, he would feel safe enough to show up. And in many ways, he did feel it. Her energy was a shelter, a cushion, a shield. Every time he ran, her presence softened the fall. Every time he avoided his truth, her love held the mirror for him. Every time he resisted, her effort kept the thread alive. But silence changes everything. Because silence is not absence. Silence is presence without effort. It's the field of love standing without conditions. And when she finally reaches the point where her soul has, "I'm done explaining," the silence becomes deafening to him. The masculine doesn't just lose her words. He loses the shield her words provided. The excuses no longer work. The illusions no longer soothe. Because the energy has shifted and he feels it. You see, silence doesn't mean she stopped loving him. It means she stopped fighting for him. She has realized that love doesn't need to be proven, that she doesn't need to bleed to keep the connection alive. That her worth is not measured by how much she can tolerate. And that realization changes the entire frequency of the bond. Because the moment the feminine stops carrying his half, the masculine feels the full weight of what he's been avoiding. This is why he suddenly feels restless, why his sleep is haunted, why guilt rises in his chest when he thinks of her. It's not because she's doing something to him. It's because she had finally stopped. And in the absence of her effort, the truth is unavoidable. Silence forces him to hear what he's been running from. Silence shows him what life feels like without her energy constantly filling the gaps. Silence makes him realize that her love was never clingy. It was the anchor holding everything together. And now that anchor has been pulled back, he must find his own ground. This is where the masculine's journey truly begins. Not when she begs, not when she proves, not when she waits in pain, but when she stands still, when she chooses herself, when she says nothing and lets her silence become the mirror. Because the feminine's silence is not rejection, it's invitation. Invitation for him to finally step forward. Invitation for him to carry his part of the bond. Invitation for him to face the reflection without her softening the blow. And he feels it, even if he doesn't speak, even if he pretends nothing has changed. His body knows, his dreams reveal it. The guilt that rises in his chest, the ache he can't explain. These are the echoes of her silence. Her silence is not emptiness, it's fullness. It's the divine feminine standing in her truth, rooted in her worth, unwilling to shrink for anyone, even for him. And that presence is louder than any message she could send, any plea she could make, any argument she could repeat. Because her silence says what words never could. I love you, but I will not abandon myself to keep you comfortable. I am here, but I will not chase you into your own fear. The bond is real, but the effort is no longer mine to prove it. This is the silence that shakes him awake, the silence that removes his hiding place, the silence that tells him, without speaking, it's your turn now. There's a shift that happens the moment the divine feminine decides, I choose me. It's not dramatic, it's not loud, it doesn't come with fireworks or announcements. It often happens quietly in the most ordinary of days. But the impact in the energetic field is seismic, because for so long her energy flowed outward. She carried both ends of the cord, pouring love, forgiveness, patience, and hope. She reached into his silence with words of reassurance. She covered his absence with prayers, with dreams, with effort. Her system was always leaning forward, doing, giving, extending. But when she chooses herself, that energy reverses. It doesn't disappear. It doesn't cut the cord. It simply redirects. Instead of chasing, she grounds. Instead of explaining, she embodies. Instead of asking, she remembers, I am enough. And in that one decision, the masculine feels something he's never felt before, the absence of her effort. At first, he may not understand. He might even convince himself she's still there, still carrying. But energy doesn't lie. The moment she stops reaching outward, the pressure to step forward falls onto him. The bond no longer feels like a shelter. It feels like a mirror. And the mirror doesn't blink. The mirror doesn't soften. The mirror simply reflects. This is the reversal. When she chooses herself, the energy flips. The current that once moved from her heart into his now returns to her. She becomes radiant, magnetic, untouchable, not because she's cold, but because she's whole. And he, who once leaned on her energy like a crutch, suddenly feels the void where her effort used to be. That void is unbearable, because it forces him to face what he's been running from, the responsibility he avoided, the love he doubted, the healing he postponed. The feminine choosing herself doesn't mean she closes the bond. It means she closes the loophole. No longer can he hide in her forgiveness. No longer can he stall in her patience. No longer can he rely on her to carry both ends. And that's when the universe intervenes. Because once she stands still, once she roots into her worth, once she takes her power back, the laws of energy demand balance. If she is no longer moving toward him, then either he steps forward or the bond collapses under the weight of his resistance. This is why his world starts to unravel. This is why his dreams are restless. This is why his chest feels heavy with guilt, why he can't escape the thought of her. It's not punishment, it's balance. The feminine has aligned. The masculine must now respond. When she chooses herself, she's not abandoning the bond. She's honoring it. Because a union built on her overgiving was never a true union. Only when she holds her energy for herself does the connection have the chance to be real, equal, mutual, alive. And he feels that. He feels the reversal in his bones. Her silence no longer feels like absence. It feels like truth. Her detachment no longer feels like indifference. It feels like strength. Her radiance no longer feels like something he can take for granted. It feels like something he must rise to meet. This is the paradox. When she was doing everything, he could do nothing. When she does nothing, he must finally do something. That's why choosing herself is not the end of the story. It's the turning point. Because in that moment, the bond stops being carried by one side, and for the first time, he must decide if he will carry his half. Her energy says it all without a single word. I am not leaving. But I am not chasing. I am not closing, but I am not carrying. The love is here. The bond is real. But if you want it, you must step forward. And that truth is louder than any message she could ever send. It's the vibration that makes the masculine restless, haunted, awake. Because deep down, he knows the feminine has chosen herself. And because of that, the energy now demands it's his turn. Why the masculine can't delay his healing anymore. For so long, he's been able to run, to distract himself with work, with noise, with other relationships, to pretend that time would somehow fix what his soul kept trying to bury. But when the divine feminine chooses herself, when she pulls her energy back into her own field, the masculine loses his hiding place. The silence that follows is not comfortable. It is confronting, because in that silence, there is no one softening the mirror anymore. Every unhealed wound begins to echo louder. The guilt he's been pushing away sits heavier in his chest. The fear he's been avoiding keeps him restless at night. The shame he's tried to escape comes flooding back in every memory, every thought, every silence. Why? Because her energy is no longer cushioning him. For years, her love softened the blow of his resistance. Her presence gave him space to delay. Her forgiveness let him postpone the inevitable. But now, the delay is over. This is the moment the masculine cannot escape, because the feminine has stopped carrying the weight of both souls, and the universe will not allow imbalance to remain. Her healing has created a gap, and that gap demands his healing to fill it. That's why he feels the pressure more than ever. That's why he can't sit still. That's why the things that used to distract him no longer work. The connection doesn't fade just because she steps back. It intensifies. But now all the intensity is directed at him. It's as if the universe is saying, she has faced her shadows. She has integrated her wounds. She has remembered her worth. Now it is your turn. And this time, he can't avoid it. He can't keep running to another connection, hoping it will feel easier. He can't drown himself in distractions, pretending he's fine, because his body won't let him. His dreams won't let him. The bond won't let him. When the feminine was still reaching outward, he could hide behind her light. But now that she stands in silence, he is left alone with his own shadows. And shadows, when left unacknowledged, grow heavier. This is why he's restless, why his sleep is broken, why he feels guilt rising in waves he can't explain, because the delay has expired. The energy won't allow it anymore. The masculine is being cornered by his own soul, not as punishment, but as awakening. Because if he doesn't face what's inside him now, he risks losing the one thing his soul has always longed for. And that fear of truly losing her is stronger than the fear of healing. So the healing begins, not when he decides it's convenient, not when he feels ready, but when the feminine's silence leaves him no more shield, no more excuses, no more time to waste. This is why his healing is urgent, because the bond is no longer carried by her energy. It requires his, and if he doesn't rise to meet it, the universe will keep pressing until he does. The feminine's silence doesn't just shift the dynamic, it forces his initiation. It's the moment where he realizes, I can't delay this anymore. I can't wait for her to come back and make it easy again. I can't keep pretending I don't know what this is. Her silence is the trigger, his healing is the only answer. And deep down, he knows it. That's why he feels the pressure. That's why guilt haunts him. That's why his heart aches, even when nothing has changed on the surface. Because something has changed. Everything. The feminine is done over-giving, and the masculine must now do the work. He doesn't have the luxury of delay anymore. The time for running is over, and his soul knows it. When the divine feminine stops carrying the weight of the connection, something awakens inside the masculine that he can no longer silence. It's not just a thought. It's not just regret. It's a physical ache, a heaviness that follows him everywhere he goes. For years, her love softened his guilt. Her forgiveness gave him space to avoid the mirror. Every time he ran, her energy cushioned the impact. Every time he avoided responsibility, her devotion made the silence feel less sharp. But now that she has pulled her energy back, the silence is heavy. The guilt is raw. The pressure is constant. He feels it in his body, the restless nights, the racing heartbeat, the dreams that wake him in sweat. He feels it in his chest, the heaviness he can't explain, the ache that comes when he thinks of her name. He feels it in his mind, the endless replay of memories, the questions he can't escape. because now there's no one covering for him, no one making it easier, no one protecting him from himself. This is the power of her silence. It doesn't punish him. It exposes him. It shows him what life feels like when her love isn't constantly filling the spaces he refused to occupy. It shows him how much he relied on her energy, how much he leaned on her presence, how much he took her forgiveness for granted. And now, without it, he is confronted with himself. That confrontation is not comfortable. It feels like guilt. It feels like pressure. It feels like restlessness that doesn't go away no matter how much he distracts himself. He might try to drown it out with work, with people, with noise, but it always comes back because this guilt is not mental. It's soul level. And soul level guilt doesn't fade until it's answered with change. This is why he feels pressure from everywhere. The connection isn't just tugging at him. Life itself begins to mirror it. Opportunities fall apart. Relationships feel hollow. His distractions stop working. Everything that once numbed the ache now magnifies it. Why? Because the bond won't let him forget. And the silence of the feminine is the loudest sound he's ever heard. This is when the masculine realizes the guilt is not punishment. The pressure is not cruelty. The restlessness is not random. It's the bond pulling him back into alignment. It's his soul refusing to let him live half asleep anymore. It's the universe saying, "You've delayed long enough. It's time." He can't escape it, not because she's forcing him, but because she finally stopped. Her energy is no longer a safety net. And without it, he's left with the truth. He must act. The guilt will only grow heavier until he does. The pressure will only intensify until he steps forward. The restlessness will only deepen until he surrenders to what he's always known. This bond is real, and it won't go away. The divine feminine has done her part. She has healed. She has released. She has chosen herself. And now the masculine feels the weight of everything left undone on his side. Every apology unsaid, every truth avoided, every action delayed. It presses on him like a storm. It sits on his chest like fire. It follows him like a shadow he cannot outrun. This is the turning point, because guilt is not meant to destroy him. It's meant to wake him. Pressure is not meant to crush him. It's meant to push him forward. Restlessness is not meant to punish him. It's meant to show him that peace will only come when he aligns with love. He can try to resist, but he will never outrun the truth. It's his turn now, and until he steps into it, his own soul will not let him rest. The feminine is done carrying, done explaining, done proving the bond to someone whose soul already knows. She has turned her gaze inward, chosen her own peace, and reclaimed her power. And because of that, the masculine can no longer delay. It's his turn now. But what does that actually mean? It doesn't mean he can simply send a message and everything resets. It doesn't mean he can return half-heartedly, expecting her to do the heavy lifting again. It doesn't mean showing up empty, still guarded, still unhealed, hoping her light will cover the cracks in him. No, this is different. This is the moment where the universe demands reciprocity, where his silence, his avoidance, his hesitation no longer keep the bond alive, where the only thing that can sustain the connection is his action, his truth, his willingness to rise. It's his turn means he must face what he has been running from. It means he must step into the pain he avoided, the healing he delayed, the responsibility he resisted. It means he must stop expecting her to do the work of both hearts. The feminine has built the foundation. She has cleared the field, released the illusions, remembered her worth. Her silence is not weakness, it is completion. And now the torch passes to him. If he wants this love, this union his soul was designed for, he must move, not because she forces him, but because the energy will no longer allow stagnation. Her stillness has shifted the balance. The bond now demands his presence, his action, his courage, and this is why his soul feels restless. Because deep down, he knows the next step belongs to him. No more waiting for her to chase. No more leaning on her forgiveness to ease his guilt. No more escaping into distractions while she carries the connection. The masculine's turn means accountability. It means choosing her without conditions. It means showing up not because she begged, but because his own soul won't let him do anything else. It means proving through action what words could never cover, that he, too, is willing to carry his half of the bond. And this is not easy for him, because stepping forward requires everything he's been avoiding: vulnerability, honesty, the risk of rejection, the courage to love without control. But this is the initiation. This is the moment where the masculine transforms from boy to man, from runner to partner, from avoider to anchor. This is the turning point where he realizes, if he doesn't rise now, the bond cannot survive. Because the feminine is no longer keeping it alive for both of them. The days of her doing all the work are gone. And that means it's his turn to feel the weight, his turn to act, his turn to prove, not with words, but with presence. It's his turn doesn't mean she waits for him. It means she stands still, radiant and rooted, while the universe brings the spotlight to him. Everywhere he turns, he feels the call. In his chest, in his dreams, in his restlessness. The call says she has done her part. The bond is still alive, but it will not carry you anymore. If you want this love, you must choose it now. And he knows. That's why nothing feels the same. That's why peace escapes him. That's why the pressure grows heavier each day. Because the bond is no longer waiting for her to prove it. It is waiting for him to embody it. This is the sacred reversal of roles. The feminine leads by surrender. The masculine rises by action, and union is born in the meeting point of her stillness and his movement. So what does "it's his turn now" really mean? It means the universe has removed his excuses. It means her silence has revealed the truth. It means his soul will not let him rest until he steps into what he was always meant to claim. And the truth is simple. She doesn't need him to complete her. But if he wants this bond, if he wants this love, he must finally show her, through action, that he is ready to complete himself. Because the feminine has risen, and the masculine must rise too. It is his turn now. The truth is undeniable now. The divine feminine is free. Not free because she stopped loving. Not free because she gave up. Not free because the bond faded. She is free because she finally remembered who she is. Because she no longer ties her worth to his choices. Because she no longer waits in the shadows of his hesitation. Because she no longer carries the burden of a love that was always meant to be shared. And this freedom changes everything. For the masculine, her freedom is not rejection. It is revelation. It reveals that the love was never dependent on her effort. It reveals that the bond cannot survive on her energy alone. It reveals that he must now take his place, or risk losing the one thing his soul has always longed for. The feminine has released. She has surrendered. She has chosen herself without closing her heart. And in doing so, she has aligned with the truth of union. It cannot be forced. It cannot be begged. It cannot be one-sided. This is the moment the masculine feels most exposed. Because with her energy no longer cushioning his shadows, the spotlight is on him. Everywhere he turns, the bond calls to him, in his body, in his restlessness, in his guilt, in his dreams. The call is relentless because the time is now. Her freedom has pulled the rug out from under his avoidance. Her silence has stripped him of excuses. Her strength has removed the illusion that he can delay forever. The feminine is no longer chasing him through his fear. She is standing in her power, radiant, magnetic, untouchable, and that radiance forces him to confront the truth. If he wants this love, he must act. If he wants this bond, he must rise. If he wants this union, he must step into it fully. No more half measures, no more hiding, no more delay. This is the divine design, because union is not meant to be carried by her alone. It is meant to be mirrored, balanced, equal. Her freedom does not kill the connection. It activates the masculine's responsibility to finally embody his part. So the choice is his, not tomorrow, not someday, now. He can remain in silence, weighed down by guilt and regret, or he can break the cycle, speak his truth, and step forward with action. The feminine is no longer holding the field for both of them. The bond itself demands his presence, and deep down, he knows this. That's why his chest feels heavy. That's why peace escapes him. That's why the thought of her lingers no matter what he does. Because his soul is telling him the one thing he cannot escape. She has done her part. Now it's yours. The feminine is free. Her stillness is her strength. Her silence is her power. Her choice to stand in her own light is the invitation for him to step into his. So this is the final message. Union is not waiting for her to prove it anymore. It is waiting for him to live it. And until he does, the restlessness will not leave. The pressure will not ease. The ache will not disappear. Because the divine feminine has risen and the masculine must rise too. It's not her turn anymore. It's his.